Hi, and welcome to another Advisor's gear review here at Huntin Fool. I'm Garth Jenson. This is going to be more of an informational gear review as far as this is what I use to organize all of my stuff for my hunts that I go on throughout the year. This is what I use. This is why I use it. Things like that. We will have some specs and things on all of these bags that will pop up so you can know what it costs, what each one of them costs, what they weigh, what they're made out of, things like that. And I'll touch on that a little bit, but it's gonna be fairly informal. I'm just gonna kind of go over, all right, this is why I use this versus this versus this. So let's get started. So first thing, I'll touch on these zip dry bags. And that's mainly because this is my primary, gear organizer for a gear bag. And the reason I choose, the 𝗀cie nylon strength or the 𝗀cie nylon bags is basically because they're listed as waterproof. They are very waterproof as far as I don't think you can submerge them. We will be running some tests and kind of submerging some items and seeing how waterproof they actually are. But very waterproof inside your backpack or inside normal bags, and they're extremely lightweight. And that's why I choose this 𝗀cie nylon for all of my gear organization when I'm gonna be out and hunting and I think there's a threat of getting some of them wet. These three come in small, medium, and large. Now this one, you'll see it has these hooks on them. Basically, that's because you can integrate that into a KUIU backpack and secure that directly to the back so it kind of keeps that upright and it doesn't slink down in your bag. That's kind of handy. But for some occasions, like I have some bags I leave them on like this. I also have other ones just because I don't really need them, I'll just cut those off. Mainly this bag I will use for like clothing, food, things like that that are gonna take up more space just to keep it in its own spot. And then when I get to camp, I'm going on a backpack hunt, I'll just pull that out if it's full of food and I'll dump it in there and then I'll kind of rummage through there and get my daily rations, things like that I can go over. These two primarily, they're gonna be for like this one. I probably have more of these medium bags than any other bag. And you can put anything in there, right? Like I'll use one of these for like gloves, beanie, neck gaiter, things like that I'm going to be used throughout the day. I have a stitch kit that I run in here that's kind of like a upgrade of my normal first aid kit. Just has a bunch of other things that I can, if something get a bad cut, I don't really take that on all of them, but you get the idea as far as organization. And if you're like me, I like to have things organized. There's nothing worse than getting onto a hunt or going on a hunt and you get there and you just have crap and you gotta go all through your bag to find anything. And I would way rather prefer to organize with these type of bags like this inside my backpack than have a backpack that's just clear full of just little pockets here, there. It just adds weight to the backpack, and honestly, it gets to the point where you have to unzip everything and look through everything just to find it. I have a few of these, and I'll run like my little first aid kit in that, fire starting kit, things like that. Like if I have, sometimes like if I'm gonna be in Alaska and it's gonna be super wet, I'll even stick my GPS in one of these just to keep it from getting wet inside there, especially in like my hip pouch, because usually your hip pouch is exposed. But any of your hip pockets, I'll put stuff in this and then have that inside that hip pocket if I can't get it wet. Like I run my phone in this, things like that, but I use these all the time, like for everything. And really when I switch and I go to these roll top bags, as you can see here, they have a variety of roll top bags. I'm missing the extra small, but for the most part, if I need to compress something like a sleeping bag or clothing, that insulated layers, things like that can compress down, and I need that space inside my bag, that's when I'm going to run these roll top bags. Because these roll top bags, it keeps it, these are bomb proof as far as rolling it up. I just have never had an issue getting any items wet inside these, and just once you roll them down and then push on them and push all that air out, basically like a vacuum seal, you can shrink that item down even smaller and it just makes it a little bit better. So that's when I switch and I start to use these roll top bags. And again, they're made out of the same sil nylon material. It's ripstop, so if you do get a hole in them, which it kind of defeats the purpose of that sil nylon because now it's exposed the elements, but if you do get a hole in them, that ripstop material just allows so it doesn't spread quite as easy, which makes it kind of nice. Now, when I get to this Extreema bag, the biggest thing with this Extreema bag, and this is basically just like a beefed up, heavier duty, it's water resistant. It's not the same type of material it's just made out of some heavier weight Extreema material. It is ripstop, but typically what I'm doing here, or when I'm using this, is if it's not gonna be as exposed to the elements, but even if it is gonna be exposed to the elements, but I think I'm like gonna throw it in a pannier on a pack saddle for a horseback hunt, I'll actually take and just throw anything that can't get wet in these or this, you know, compress it down, and then throw it in this, basically to ride in that pannier, because what happens with these, if you put these in a situation where it's going to be rubbing against abrasive material or other abrasive objects, what's gonna happen is it's gonna wear a hole in it. And then it's gonna defeat the purpose of that sil nylon, and it's not gonna be waterproof anymore. So that's where I put them in this, and like boat hunts, if I'm getting in a plane in Alaska and going on a plane ride, I can better distribute the weight. We can, you know, put them in different things, and I can just take these bags and these, where I have them, you know, these other accessory bags, where I have stuff separated out, pile them into this, and there's three sizes of this as well, a small, medium, large. This is the medium. They're super lightweight. The ones that I run are the medium and large, just because the small is a little bit too small. And typically, like I say, I like to use this to pile stuff into, but keep it separate. And I'm running this, basically, if I'm getting to a base camp, you can just grab a hold of that, throw it to the side or throw it out of the pannier, and then start digging into it from there. So that's when I use these Extreema bags. They're super handy, but normal, like if I'm going on a backpack hunt or something like that where I'm gonna be packing, I typically do not take these. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of test how water repellent or how waterproof these bags are. So got a couple Huntin Pool shirts here, and we're gonna shove in these bags. These are that's the zip and the roll top. I'm gonna use some handy dandy Cabela wading boots to weight them down. Obviously this is more of an extreme case because what these bags are meant for is a light amount of condensation to come in. Obviously you're not dropping them in an ocean or a lake and testing that. So we're just gonna kind of put an extreme test together, and we're gonna see, all right, how long. Now I think we're gonna leave them in there about 5 minutes or so. That should give us a pretty good idea of how waterproof they are. Like I say, I've had them for years, and just normal, have them in your backpack and your backpack gets wet, it is going to help on that. Like it's gonna keep all the water out, but we're gonna put a little bit more to the test. Alright, so it's been 5 minutes. Let's take these out. Well, that's obviously a good sign that they're still floating. Let me throw these on the ground so I don't get that all wet. Well, it's still floating. This one feels a little wet. This one actually does not. I anticipated that this one would probably be the wettest, and obviously, like I say, this is extreme. No one's gonna be sinking their bag in there and submerged in water, but you can see the top of that, it's fairly dry. Now, once you get to the bottom, obviously, there's a little bit of wet in there. So, like I say, this is not, like I say, it's not for submerging any items in there. This is strictly just to keep things off of there. If you do get some wet inside your backpack or things like that, it is going to keep them dry, but not submerging. So you can see the zip dry bag. not the best for submerging. Let's see how this roll top bag. I was hoping the roll top bag would perform a little better just because it does not have that zipper or points of entry that could come in. It's got a little water in there, but as you can see, it's not near as wet, right? There's just a little bit of water that got in there. But again, that's being submerged underwater for 5 minutes, and you can see there's just a little bit of water that got in there. So use these for what they are, use them for their purposes. These are excellent bags to kind of separate, organize, keep things dry inside your pack. They work excellent for that. This was kind of an extreme type test, but you can see which one, if you really wanted to keep your sleeping bag wet, which is an item that you really want to keep dry, go with a roll top bag. Makes all the sense in the world. So hope you enjoyed this video and got some use out of it. If you have any questions or comments on any of these items or this video, just feel free to leave me a comment below and we'll get back to you. But if you like this video, remember to subscribe.